People always say, I never saw it coming. I saw it coming. Every single step. And the worst part? I said nothing. Not because I didn't care. Because I loved her too much to believe it was real. My name is Jenna. And this is the story of how I watched my best friend, my closest person in the world, walk straight into a fire she built herself. Her name was Marissa. We'd been friends since college. 15 years. The kind of friendship where you don't talk every day, but when you do, it's like no time passed at all. She knew my secrets. I knew hers. Or at least, I thought I did. Marissa was the kind of person you trusted immediately. Warm. Grounded. Funny in that dry, quiet way that sneaks up on you. She wasn't flashy. She didn't need to be. When we were younger, she was the one who talked me out of bad decisions. Who sat with me through breakups, through job losses, through everything. She married Ethan when she was 28. I was her maid of honor. I cried at that wedding not just because it was beautiful, but because I genuinely believed those two were going to be okay. Ethan was solid, steady, the kind of man who shows up. Not with grand gestures, but with presence, with consistency. He fixed things before she asked. Remembered every small detail she mentioned. Once in passing, I used to joke with her. If Ethan ever has a brother, send him my way. She'd laugh and say, he's one of a kind. Trust me. And I believed her. After the wedding, life moved fast the way it always does. They had a son, a little boy named Caleb. I watched Marissa become a mother with the same quiet steadiness she did. Everything else. She wasn't perfect. None of us are. But she was present. She was trying. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I can trace it almost to the exact week things started shifting. It was a Thursday. We met for lunch like we did every few weeks. She seemed lighter, but in a strange way. Not relaxed. Energized. She kept checking her phone. Marissa never checked her phone at lunch. She always said it was rude. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. We all have weeks. The next time we met, it was worse. She was distracted. Mid-sentence, she'd trail off and smile at something on her screen. Work stuff, she said when I raised an eyebrow. I nodded, but something felt off. The third time she mentioned a name. Daniel. It was casual. Almost too casual. There's this guy at work who's actually interesting. Like rare for that place. She laughed after she said it. Like it was nothing. I laughed too. But I filed the name away. Because when Marissa says something is nothing, it usually means it's already something. Over the next few weeks, Daniel came up more and more. Always disguised inside other sentences. We had this team meeting and Daniel made everyone laugh. I ran into Daniel at the coffee machine and we ended up talking for an hour. Daniel thinks I should apply for the senior position. He says I'm underestimated. There. That last one made me pause. Not because of what she said. Because of how she looked when she said it. There was something in her eyes. A kind of light I hadn't seen in a while. And I recognized it. I'd seen that look before, just never on her face. Not recently. One night we went out, just the two of us, wine and dinner, the usual. I asked her directly. Gently but directly. Is something going on with this Daniel person? She looked at me. Paused for a beat too long. Then said, no. He's just a friend. He's easy to talk to. I looked at her. She looked back. Jenna. I'm married. I have a kid. I know, I said. And I let it go. I shouldn't have. Here's what no one talks about when something like this happens. The helplessness of being the friend. You can see what they can't. Or won't. You watch someone you love start making choices that don't fit who you know them to be. And you're standing outside a glass wall, knocking, hoping they'll turn around. But they don't. Because they're not lost yet. At least not in their own mind. Around this time, I started noticing changes in how she talked about Ethan. Before, if his name came up, it was neutral. Warm even. Now there was an edge. Ethan's fine. He's just, the same. He doesn't really ask questions. He just assumes everything's okay. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a function in the house. Not a person. I listened. I always listened. But I also knew Ethan. And what she was describing, the quiet, the steadiness, the predictability, that was always who he was. She fell in love with those things. Now she was rewriting them as flaws. That's when I knew something was already broken. Not her marriage. Not yet. Her perception of it. And that's harder to fix than anything else. She didn't tell me about the work outing until after. And even then, she told me a version of it. We all went out after work. It was nice to be social for once. She was calm, practiced. But I'd known her for 15 years. The way she said we all went out, while keeping her eyes just slightly off mine. I knew and I still didn't push. Because part of me was hoping I was wrong. People do that. We protect our image of someone over the truth. I told myself she'll pull back. She'll remember what she has. She didn't. A few weeks later she called me on a Tuesday night. Late. Her voice was different. Quieter. I need to tell you something. I sat down. She told me about Daniel. What had actually been happening. How far it had gone. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Then I said, Marissa, you need to stop this. She was quiet. I know, she whispered. Do you? I asked. She didn't answer that. I tried. I want to be clear about that. Over the next few weeks I tried in every way I knew how. I asked her to think about Caleb. I reminded her who she was before all this. I even said carefully, gently, if you're unhappy in your marriage, there are ways to address that. But this isn't the way. She heard me. I could see that she heard me. But there's a difference between hearing something and letting it in. When someone is in the middle of that kind of feeling, that rush, that attention, that sense of being seen after a long time of feeling invisible, logic doesn't land. It slides off. Because what they're experiencing feels more real than anything you're saying. I've thought about this a lot since. About whether I should have pushed harder, said it louder, been more direct, threatened to tell Ethan myself. I didn't do any of those things. And I still don't fully know if that was right or wrong. I found out the same way everyone else did. A mutual friend sent me a link. Just a short message. Did you see this? It was a local event blog. Photos from a work outing. There was Marissa. And there was Daniel. And there was no way to look at that photo and think it was innocent. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then I called her. She didn't pick up. She texted back 2 minutes later. I know. I'll call you tonight. She didn't call that night. Because that night Ethan found out. I heard about what happened at the house from her later in pieces. He had the folder. The messages. A recording. He didn't scream. Didn't break things. He just sat across from her and showed her everything. And then he slid the divorce papers across the table. Already filed. When she told me that part, I felt two things at once. Heartbreak for her. And something that felt uncomfortably close to respect for him. That was over a year ago now. Marissa is okay. Not happy yet. Not the deep, settled kind of happy, but she's okay. She sees Caleb on weekends. She's working on herself in a way she wasn't before. Therapy. Honesty. The hard kind. Ethan moved forward. Not quickly, but with that same quiet steadiness he always had. Last I heard, he was doing well. Moving on. Marissa told me she's glad for him. I believe her. As for me and Marissa, we're still friends. But it's different now. There's something between us that wasn't there before. Not resentment exactly. More like awareness. Of how well we can know someone and still not fully know them. Of how fast a life can change direction when someone stops paying attention to what they already have. She asked me once not long ago, did you know? Before I told you. I looked at her for a moment. And I told her the truth. I saw the signs. I just didn't want to be right. She nodded slowly. Me too, she said quietly. Me too. If you're watching this and you see something like this happening around you, in your circle, in your family, with someone you love, I'm not here to tell you what to do, because honestly, I'm still not sure what the right thing was. But I'll tell you this. The people who get hurt the most in these situations are never the ones who made the choice. It's the child who gets used to a new normal. The spouse who trusted completely. The friend who watched and wondered if they should have said more. You don't lose a person all at once. You lose them in the small moments they chose something else over what was real. And sometimes, all you can do is be there when the smoke clears. Short clip idea.